Hello everybody, I'm Katie Knight and welcome back to Can You Put Me on Guestlist. So today is International Women's Day, so I thought it would be a nice idea to highlight and celebrate some of the wonderful things that women in music have worked on or taken part in over this last year. And for this conversation, I asked two of my favourite people in the world to join me, Lydia Laws, who is the founder of Lydia Laws PR, and Roberta Hickey, who is the founder of the Women in Dance Music platform, Little Pink Book. So besides talking about personal projects and experiences as women in music, we also talk about some of the other initiatives and communities and women that are constantly inspiring us. So happy International Women's Day to all of you incredible, powerful and ambitious women that are listening to this podcast, and also to the incredible men who empower, push, support and love us every day. Welcome back to Can You Put Me on Guestlist with Lydia Laws and Roberta Hickey.
It's really cold here today.
Oh, is it? Wintry.
But winter in Ibiza is nice though. It's not like...
It's like 6 degrees and sunny here, which is actually kind of the dream in the winter. I like that. It's meant to be like crazy winds, like 60-kilometer winds at the weekend.
60? Wow.
Yeah.
So just to give people a bit of a context where everybody is, I'm obviously in Ibiza, Roberta is in Dubai, and Lydia is in Newcastle. Just so everybody knows. So we're spread out. I wish we were doing this in person.
I know. We should have literally just pressed record on like all our breakfast chats at XP.
I know.
So good.
That was so good. That's why I was like, I have to do this with you two, because we just had so many good chats over there. Me, Lydia, and Roberta were all at XP conference in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia in December. Was it December or November?
End of November, yeah.
And it was so good, wasn't it? It was really like insightful. It was really interesting. We had a really good time and met some amazing people there. And as Lydia just said, we had lots of breakfast chats in the morning over an amazing buffet breakfast. I remember when we came back, Lydia was like, "Oh, just die for that buffet breakfast again."
I could have just started every day like that. And once you were like, try the dates, and I was like, oh my God, it was like 2 more breakfasts, and I was like, the dates are amazing.
Oh, the dates are so...
They're like toffees. It's like having. I mean, I don't think they're healthier than actual toffees anyway, but they were worth it.
Yeah, do they have them in Dubai as well, Roberta?
Yeah, have to try and stay away.
Oh my God, and like the dried papaya as well, which was just like sweet.
Yeah, that papaya was insane.
But also the conference was actually amazing.
Yeah, not just the food.
It wasn't just the food.
The conference was. And what like a place to have all been kind of brought together, just you would never really have kind of thought it would be in Saudi Arabia. So it's kind of, an amazing experience.
It was an amazing experience. Because you two didn't know each other either before that, did you?
No.
You didn't.
Bonded
over breakfast. Dates and Arabic coffee. And
that's
actually,
how I bond with most people, loving food.
Yeah.
And actually one thing that I really loved about XP was the fact that they had brought in so many women from so many different backgrounds, so many different places around the world to speak on the panels. In fact, Roberta, you spoke on a panel. Was it Roberta or was it Lydia? What was your panel called about?
Roberta
did the women's one.
Yeah, it was female representation is a mission for all of us, which I quite like that title as well, because it's true, and it's kind of and they had actually 2 males on the panel as well, which was interesting to see their perspective. You could tell they were
I remember that,
watching what to say. I think it's a tough position to be in, because I kind of, as a man on a panel like that, because I think you don't want to say the wrong thing, but you know, the fact that they were on that panel and were speaking like so positively and saying what they do and what other people can do, that's like a huge step forward.
Absolutely. It's such an exciting time over there in Saudi, isn't it? Well, I think in the Middle East in general. And you, Roberta, you moved over to Dubai. When did you move now?
Well, yeah, just about a year ago, kind of started the move about this time last year. It was a bit back and forth for a few months, but yeah, crazy.
Have you been there a year already?
Yeah, it was, yeah, pretty much. Was back and forth for a few months and was here like fully from May, June. But yeah, it's gone so quickly.
What's your experience actually been like as a woman there, like in music? Because that would be something I'd be really interested to kind of hear on, like how you found it.
Yeah, so the music industry here is still kind of super emerging and so much smaller. So coming from London, the one thing that I did miss is the kind of the big music industry community, and the fact there's like events every night. You can be anywhere, you probably bump into someone you know. That kind of isn't really happening here yet, but it's definitely on the kind of on the up and on the move. So we have the major labels here. We have Sony and Universal both have Dubai offices. I believe Warner in Beirut. And there's more companies coming up, like TikTok obviously have an office here, Spotify, there's Angami, which is the Arabic Spotify, kind of their own streaming service. So it's definitely happening, but I think it's bringing everyone together, that community vibe. So that's something I'm trying to build with Little Pink Book here. So kind of launched that at the end of last year with a round table of women in music here to kind of hear about their thoughts. And I think that's the same. A lot of people see that there's so much opportunity here, like within the music industry, because it is an emerging market. But what people said the same as me, they miss that community that you do get with working in the music industry, especially in kind of a city like London. So, but it's definitely happening. There's a place called Al Sakal Avenue, which is a real creativity hub. There's a vinyl record store there that has sessions in with emerging DJs and talent. There's a really cool like underground radio station that's just launched in Abu Dhabi. So there's definitely things happening. And it's people are up for it. Kind of in Al Sakal Avenue, they had a arts festival, and the performances, there was Saint Levon, who's just blowing up on TikTok. He's amazing. And then another local Arabic artist. And then it was arts as well, and crafts and food stalls. But I believe over the weekend it was like well over 10,000 people attended. So it shows that there is that appetite for creativity and for those more emerging artists and discovery, which is amazing. So I think it's just all about kind of, how we can keep building on that, really.
For people that don't know Little Pink Book, can you just give a little bit of an introduction?
Yeah, so Little Pink Book is my Women in Music platform and network. So it was launched in London in 2019. We do a lot of panel talks, curated events, like all female lineups for brands like Adidas. We did a lot of all female lineups at venues in London, so like the Ned, the Curtain, the Hospital Club, but it was there, which was amazing. And over lockdown, we partnered with Mixcloud, London Sound Academy, and Pioneer DJ, and did live stream DJ and production workshops, which was free. We gave away Pioneer DJ equipment, so we're actually getting the equipment into the hands of women during lockdown to get them to learn. And yeah, that was amazing. That's one of the favorite projects I've worked on, really, just to kind of see the community coming together in a time like that. All female led. We did some industry tips as well. We had some amazing people involved. Jaguar was involved. She was amazing. Jess Bays, Yazzus, Samantha Togney. Yeah, it was great. And we had such good feedback. And I actually believe kind of some of the women who got involved in the streams and won some of the equipment actually then did end up learning DJing and getting into production. So
I bet that's so much fun working with so many different incredible women and being able to bring them all together under one brand as well. Yeah. And now you
just cool.
Yeah, I think I feel like when we were younger, there was just so much less of this around. Like obviously it's still something we need to grow, but like I remember when I like tried to get into music, and it was very much like I was kind of very much like put down a lot by guys. In a kind of like, how does she know what she's talking about? She doesn't know anything about the music scene, like all that sort of stuff. And I feel like there was I wasn't the only woman who had that experience, like
Yeah.
by a long shot. I think it's so good that there's more of these platforms available for people and more encouragement, because if you're not encouraged at the beginning, like you kind of get into it despite how you're treated.
Yeah.
Whereas like I feel like there was a lot more encouragement for men, or it's very much like it feels like a male dominated industry, especially then, and it's harder to push through because you're not only having to push past your own like, you know, imposter syndrome or self-doubt, whatever, you're kind of having to fight against these kind of preconceived opinions that guys in the scene have of you as well.
I think though, especially with like you know, with technology and the internet and WhatsApp and all of like these different platforms now, it is so much easier because of when we started. I mean, like obviously there was internet, but there wasn't really like nobody really used WhatsApp. There wasn't these kind of groups or communities. Well, there probably were, but there weren't really as many as there is now. So I think like now that women are starting out in the music industry, it's a lot easier for them to be able to find these different communities and be able to connect with different women, learn from other women about, you know, different roles or their experiences in the industry. So I do think it's a much easier time for women to start out than it probably was 10, 12 years ago.
100%.
Having those role models to look up to, like that visibility. So seeing women in those senior roles, seeing women as tour managers, seeing women producing. Because I think sometimes if you're not seeing it, it's much harder to kind of see yourself doing that. And I think, you know, you just kind of, it's weird if you're not seeing someone who reflects you in the role. I think unless you're, you know, really one of those trailblazing people who's just kind of like, I'm going to do this, whatever. I think the majority of people, it just then doesn't enter into their psyche like, you know what, I'm going to do this. Whereas the more women were showing in male dominated roles and in senior positions, it really just kind of puts it out there that, look, anyone can achieve this. Like, you don't have to think that you're going to be second best, or you're not going to be a CEO at a record label because you're a woman. We don't want women entering the industry like that. We want them going in being like, I am going to get paid the same as the man sat next to me, and I am going to be CEO if I want to be, and I work hard. So I think that's where we're getting to now, that we are being able to show women in those roles and, you know, show women having those seats at the table. And hopefully will then encourage others to follow in their footsteps and inspire them.
100%. Yeah.
You're working on you were telling us a couple of days ago the LPB directory. Tell us a little bit about that, because that kind of leads into the project that you're working on.
Yeah, so it's actually just gone live today. So can you put me on the guest list?
Congratulations. I know this is something that you've been thinking about for a while, so I'm very excited for you.
Oh my gosh, for years. And I don't know why.
For years? Has it really been years? Wow.
So basically what it is what it's going to be is a global directory of female identifying and non-binary DJ, producers and vocalists from all over the world of all levels. And at the minute, we're just kind of getting people to get on board, to put their details in, and we're going to be building it out. So I've got an amazing mentor from Beatport who's guiding me on the project, which is really exciting. It's amazing to have kind of support from such a respected company like that. So we're in phase 1 at the minute, which we're just asking people to sign up, put their details in. Phase 2 will be announcing our launch partners. So this will be venues, record labels, festivals who are all kind of going to pledge to be using the platform to discover talent. And then phase 3, it's going to be launched as a platform and a community. So this is where women on the platform can mark themselves as mentors. And then producers and vocalists can find each other. So I find obviously a lot of the vocalists in dance music are females, and then they'll be paired with male producers. And sometimes the lyrics are maybe too personal, or they would just feel more comfortable with a female producer, but actually it's hard to find. So it's going to make each other discoverable. Because for me, growing up in Doncaster, there was nothing like that. And funnily enough, I had a girl message me from Doncaster, who had met someone I know and said, "Oh, you should speak to Roberta. She's in music and DJing. She's from Donny." And she reached out. She was like, "Oh my
Donny.
God, come on, Donny." She never. She was like, "Oh, it's so nice to meet someone kind of like from here. I haven't found anyone like locally who can connect, and it'd be good to know how you've kind of gone from starting out in Doncaster to doing what you're doing." And it just made me think there will be other women in Doncaster, or that's just an example, but all over who are doing, but that just haven't been connected. So that's a big part of it. So discoverability for the industry, but also for each other. Like moving to Dubai, I wanted to get more DJ lessons here, and ideally from a female, and I just can't find anyone. So it might be amazing if I could just go in and then be like, okay, who's DJ willing to teach, willing to mentor, Dubai? Amazing. So that's kind of the grand plan.
It's so cool. It's such a good idea. It's such a good idea, because I was even thinking a couple of days ago, even in places like Ibiza, where obviously like the music industry has been around for like since the 60s, so it's like a very well established music industry here, but there's still like there's no women that have their own residencies in Ibiza. The only person that came to mind, I remembered that Magdalena had a residency with a party called Shadows a few years ago. I think Tanya Vulcano once had one at DC10, and now Ida Emberg has had her residency at Club Chinois. And I don't know if it's because... Are you ringing me? Sorry, that was my mum. Hi, Mum. I don't know if it's literally because people are just not connected properly, or actually blows my mind that there is no women apart from right now Ida Emberg that has her residency at Club Chinois that don't have their own residency in Ibiza. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, that's mental. You would think there would be someone who like
Emily Lenz had a 4-week residency. That's it.
Gosh.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is. I wonder, like...
I know. So that's why I was thinking the other day when you were telling us about the directory, I was like, this is something that like it can be used in so many different ways through so many different people in so many places around the world for different reasons, obviously, whether it's, you want to go into the studio, or you are setting up your own event, or you need, I don't know, just whatever, but even down to like events, because I just don't know if it's just because people aren't connected properly. I'm not sure, but it's
crazy about the women thing in Ibiza. That is nuts. Yeah. But then I feel like as a general rule, women will go to male or female ran events, whereas men are less like, I feel like men, as a generalization, I feel like men don't connect as well with a female artist. I genuinely think that's the thing. Like if you look on social media when like a female DJ posts a video, like how much negativity they get.
I know.
Even like Charlotte or Emily, do you know what I mean? Like, and they're massive. Whereas like a male artist at the same level doesn't get that same response. And maybe that then actually comes like is mirrored in like even like people kind of like showing up to events and supporting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're so right with what you say about like the whole social media thing and the amount of negative comments that I think over the last couple of years, there's been a big rise in female techno artists, especially. Yeah. And a lot of people have this thing about, that they were models before and now they've models that turn DJ kind of thing. And there's like, I don't know. I can't even understand how people can be so like cruel and mean in the words that people say on social media. It's just disgusting the way some people get spoken to on online sometimes. And I don't know. I don't even see if it's something that is getting better or if it's getting worse as there's more women coming in and really growing,
I feel like there's a lot of men who are very supportive, and a lot of people in the scene who are really supportive of the fact that women have more of a platform. There are more female artists coming through. But I also think with that, there's also a lot of people who feel threatened by that, or feel like it's taking away from men who should have that spotlight or be playing those shows or whatever, and see it more as a competition, or see, you know what I mean? It's that whole thing of like, if someone's doing well, it doesn't mean that someone else has to be doing not well. Like, there's space for everybody, but I think some people don't see that.
There's definitely an element of being threatened, because you can see it from like the comments, but it's like, yeah, exactly what you said. It's when we're talking about like female headliners and female getting residencies, we're not saying don't give any men residencies, don't give any men headline. We're just saying, hey, give us a few too. That's it. We're not, you know, there are some incredible male DJs, and you know, I absolutely love going to Ibiza and to all the residencies and to the massive clubs where, yeah, it is predominantly a male lineup, and they're incredible. So we're not taking anything away from that. It's just, you know, how can we be there too? How can we be, you know, having our moment? How can more females be having residencies in Ibiza?
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel like women are held to such a higher standard as well, you know, like using social media as an example, like someone posts a video and it's like, she's not doing, you know, she's not writing her own music, she's not playing properly, she's not doing this, she's not like, you know, like playing like with records, she's doing this, but like, why, like, you know, there's artists who are doing all this, who are playing, you know, like men are the same, there's men who are doing the same sort of sets or playing in the same way or whatever, and it's like, why is that okay? But what she is doing isn't, or what they are doing isn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, why is that fair? It's weird.
What are your thoughts on all female lineups that are like actually called, oh, we're doing like a full just female lineup at an event?
Like how it's done. So I know Strawberries and Cream, for example, had like an all-female lineup stage. At the event, they also, across the lineup, they did have kind of big female headliners. I actually think it was maybe 51% female overall. And then they had a stage curated by Girls Can't DJ. And actually, I love that because it was brought through a lot of kind of grassroots female talent. The stage was like popping off, and it was just kind of, and because it was there as part of the festival, like what you said, there was a lot of like guys going down just because it was like part of the festival, and then having, you know, an amazing time. And I think kind of showing, you know, we can do it is really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I think what you were saying, if it was a Girls Can't DJ night and an all-female lineup, you would see that crowd would be predominantly female. But when it was a stage at a festival, you kind of change that because people are like milling around and they get attracted to where the music is good or where the vibe is. And it was amazing at that stage. And I think that is a good way to do it, because it's not taking over, but it is giving an opportunity for females to curate, and then also those grassroots artists to have a platform and to all work together and create something amazing. So I think it has, I think if it's done the right way, I think it can definitely have benefits.
Yeah, I agree. I think it can have an element of like novelty about it that I don't like, and also like a charity angle to it that I also don't like. I think it's a really difficult one because I also think like in a dream world, lineups would be based on, you know, like quality / like, you know, like what was appropriate for that setting or that, you know, that stage or whatever. But it's really hard to do something on that when women haven't had the same opportunities, you know, like women and non-binary artists haven't had the same opportunities that men have for so long. So to be like, oh, we're just going to base it solely on talent, I think is really difficult, because then it's like, well, you're discounting loads of female artists and you aren't showing representation in any sense of the word. But at the same time, I think it has to be done in the right way so that it's not kind of done in like a, oh, look at us, we're, you know, supporting, we're showing diversity in our lineups, blah, 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 blah. Do you know what I mean? I think it has to come from like a kind of sincere and like thought out place to work.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's exactly what I was going to say. I think it just depends. It depends on the angle and like, you know, the purpose and where it's being held. But I think as well, sometimes when you do see like I remember there was this one night that they did in Ibiza and Privilege. It was probably like 6 or 7 years ago. And it was literally like called, what was the name of the party? I can't remember, but it was really branded and marketed like this is just female. And it didn't work in the end because it kind of like pushed men away a little bit, I think, in some kind of sense. Yeah. It was a kind of a bit like, okay, this is girls' club, like boys definitely are not allowed in. So I think it just depends on the way that it's done and it's marketed. But yeah, I think sometimes there can be kind of a bit of a negative side of just calling it like just women, you know,
because we don't want to have the totally.
That's not what we want. That's what we're trying to get is equality and like find, you know, these balanced lineups.
Yeah, 100%. I remember like this is years ago, but I just remember like me and Claire were there and like we thought the lineup was quite like, I don't know. It was like very male dominated, obviously, because it's a very male dominated label. But then they had like Charlotte and Emily playing, and they were both playing at the exact same time on 2 different stages. And it was like, where did this programming like get thought through? Because if I want to see, like, these are 2 of the biggest artists of the moment who both happen to be women, and I'm having to choose between which one I watch or which one I enjoy the set of, or I have to run back and forth. Whereas all day, like, you could have, obviously you're always competing against someone, but I feel like women are constantly kind of put in this position where they're competing against each other when that doesn't have to be there. Like, why didn't you have one of them play a slightly different time so that it's not a case of I can only really catch like one of these 2 really like special artists set? You know, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's stuff like that. It's like, I think we could be thinking. It's a
really good example.
Doing lineups, and it's just like, that's what I think. I think things like that could be thought through better.
100%. I'd love to know also, like, what was thought process behind a lineup like that? Yeah. Is it because it is men that are putting together them set times and then lineups, and it's something they just really haven't thought about, or like, what's the reasoning behind it? Because that is it's a strange one.
We brought it up to a couple of male artists that we were with on the day, and they were like, "Oh no," because we were like, "Oh, misogynist," and they were like, "No, I don't think so." And I was like, "Yeah, but of course you don't, because you've not had to think about it, because you've not been pitted against another artist in that same way." So like, and then they kind of were like, "Oh yeah, actually, yeah, like I see what you mean," and like they were totally receptive to kind of, "Oh yeah, actually I do see where you're coming from," and it was like, but I just think it doesn't get thought about, maybe, or maybe there is actually more thought behind it, but I think a lot of things just get missed because they haven't been in that position themselves.
That's what I was just going to say. I think sometimes just because they haven't been in these positions, it's something that they kind of probably would just maybe just not think about. But
yeah, imagine
it was the other way around. There'd be like uproar about it, like these 2 headliners playing at the same time when, you know, there's the only 2 men in the whole of the festival, which is also crazy. At a festival there's only 2 women playing in the whole festival. But
I think, actually, to be fair, I think that Anna and Ida did have like earlier sets, but it was like a 3-stage, like 2-3 stages, massive, and it was like there's like 4 women where 2 of their sets are like conflicting. Like, do you know what I mean? I just think, I mean, that was a few years ago, but it's always stuck in my head because it was that thing.
No, it's a really good example.
Like, you know what I mean? Not thinking.
Have you seen this Instagram page? I really want to remember what it's called. It's called like statistics in dance music or something. And basically they take like lineups from any festival around the world and they'll break it down to literally like where the artists are from. Are they female, male? What agencies do they come from? What booking agencies they come from? How much they're paid? They literally break down like every single thing, and it'll say like 20% of the people from this lineup are from the UK, 18% of this lineup are from America. And have you seen it?
Yeah,
it's really cool. It's super interesting. They did the Coachella lineup, and they were like, this amount of people were booked through yeah, whatever. All of these different agencies.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think there was, I think like dance music has its elements of like, these problems quite a lot. But I kind of think that outside of dance music, this is like a bigger issue as well. I think I don't know, I can't remember, so sorry to slag off a festival, which I am probably going to get wrong, but it was like Leeds or Reading or something had like no female headliner. Like this was like last year. Huh?
Yeah, and then Wireless as well had.
Yeah, there was like no.
Annie Mac calling it out. Yeah, I think both have done it. We recently as well, which is just you're like, oh, come on.
Yeah. How does that even get to the point of like being like released without somebody being like, oh, actually, we've got no women like headlining?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, how does it get to that point? I mean, a lineup like that, it has to go through a lot of people. It's not just like, oh, two people are sat in their living room like, okay, well, let's book this person, that person. Like, there's a big process behind booking a festival. So how is that not picked up on before? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's funny when you said about the all-female lineups before. When it's an all-female lineup, everyone's like, oh my God, it's an all, whether you say it or not, if you just put it out, don't call it an all-female lineup, people pick up on it. If you put an all, like, I guess people are picking up on it now, but all male lineups, that was just a lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true.
That's it. Oh, wouldn't it just be amazing if like a massive festival just put up like a 80% or 90% female lineup without obviously calling out like, oh, this is what we're doing, and then just see what people's reactions are. Nobody's really done that, have they?
No, we'll get there.
Yeah,
we are getting there. I wanted to talk, Lydia, also about one of the artists that you're working with, Azeka.
Yeah, she's awesome. She is running like she's from Chicago, and she runs these nights called Dirty Disco, which she kind of started as like Twitch streams in lockdown, and then she's now been at like Spy Bar and like Smoke and Mirrors, and they're just like playing in loads of cool venues in Chicago. But she started it with the whole purpose of like making women feel kind of like there was a comfortable space they could go partying. She felt like that was like missing in the scene, and like there wasn't like, like her friends or like people she knew kind of wouldn't feel like comfortable going out, like didn't feel like it was kind of, there was a kind of female, like a welcome female focus and stuff so much. So that's kind of what the basis was behind the parties, where women can go, feel safe, feel comfortable, get dressed up, have a night out without kind of that unwanted attention and without feeling like unsafe and uncomfortable in like a club. Which I think is really cool. Like, and it's really interesting because my experiences in the UK have always been really quite positive, and feeling like not feeling uncomfortable in that sort of setting. So it's kind of interesting to hear someone else's perspective on that, but then also the fact that she's doing something about it. So yeah, the nights are like always selling out and doing really well. Yeah, she's just really cool. I think it's like creating a nice like space in Chicago for people to go.
Is she from Chicago then?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It is. You often hear, about, and I've had friends, and I've had a personal experience myself where I've been out and I've really definitely not felt safe. But I think my personal experience when it happened to me, it was in Ibiza. I think it was like one of my first ever years. So I must have been like 19 years old or something. But I never really thought I had anywhere to like anyone to talk to about it. I just thought it was just kind of like in some ways I was like, is it my own fault? Like, should I have not been here, or should I have not been dressed the way I was dressed? You know what I mean? When you sometimes kind of blame yourself.
100%.
Yeah. And it was something that I literally like never really ever spoke to anyone about. So having all of these different conversations and platforms, and even like the podcast that we're doing now, and just open up the conversation, I think it's making it so much easier for people that have or have gone through similar situations. I mean, don't get me wrong, what happened to me was like nothing. It was just a very, very awkward, just when you just don't feel safe. I thought somebody was following me or leaving a club, and I felt really, really scared. I remember just like running down the road, by myself, and I blamed myself for it. I was like, I shouldn't have been going out dressed like that, or I shouldn't have been by myself. And I'm like, but this is my home, this is where I live, this is part of, you know, I work in this industry, I should never feel that way. But yeah, I always remember like really blaming myself for that at the time, and now I'm like, why did I ever think like that?
It's horrible, isn't it? I feel like we carry so much like guilt and shame for so many things that we don't need to. I think like there's definitely been times in the past where like I might have, you know, yeah, like you know, either stayed out longer than I meant to, or like missed my booked cab home, so then had to kind of grab another one, and then had an uncomfortable experience or a bad situation, and then I'm like, oh god, if only I'd like left when I shouldn't have stayed longer. Or like, you know, you get like the night bus home, and then you're like, oh god, I shouldn't have done this because it's not safe. And it's like, why are we having to think about like we shouldn't have done these things that are absolutely fine? Like, we're not the problem. But I think, you know, it's that thing when something bad does happen to a woman, it's very much like, oh, she shouldn't have done that, or she should, you know, why did she walk through the park late at night on her way home, or why did she get an unlicensed cab, or like blah blah. And it's like, that shouldn't be the question. The question should be about why
did it even happen?
Yeah, why did it happen? Like, whose fault is it actually? Yeah, it's a really difficult one, I think, to not feel like it's your fault in some way, or put the blame on yourself.
Did you share with us sorry, Roberta.
I was just saying, it's amazing initiative that your artist is doing. It'd be good to kind of, obviously it's happening in Chicago, but I mean, that's something that would be amazing worldwide.
Yeah, totally. They have like a boat party in Miami for Winter Music Conference. Is it even called that anymore? Music Week? I still call it WMC. So yeah, so hopefully it's something that'll like
far more initiatives. I know I mentioned Strawberries and Cream earlier, but they did they had a women safety initiative as well at the festival, and they had a WhatsApp number that was all around, and if you were feeling unsafe you could WhatsApp, and they had people on site like ready to respond, and you can like drop your pin, and so they would know where you are. And they partnered with like United Nations on it. And I think just, you know, having the events that your artist is doing is amazing. And then, but also there's, I guess it's not a small thing, but just thinking about it at big festivals, at events that are already happening, just having something in place, which can be as simple as a WhatsApp number.
Yeah,
you know, and someone
pretty cool. I love that.
I saw somewhere as on, I can't think exactly where it is right now, but it was, I remember it was on the back of the doors in the bathrooms. And actually, was it a soundstorm? It might have been. And it was like a code that you could give a waiter or a waitress behind the bar, kind of asking for help, you know. So there's all of these tiny things that can be done that are like zero cost, but could go so far when you're organizing an event or a festival.
100%.
Yeah, totally. They have that. Yeah, in the UK, it's like you ask for Angela behind the bar, and then they'll like get you. Yeah, and then I was actually at like a crazy golf place the other day, which is also a bar, and it was on the back of the toilet doors there. It was like, if you're on a date with someone who, you know, is making you feel uncomfortable, or isn't who they say they were, or like you're with someone and you're, you know, this and that, you can do that, and they'll kind of help you out without making a big thing out of it.
Didn't you mention as well this an Instagram page that was called Midnight Women Midnight?
Yeah, like the Women Street Watch.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like this group of like, it's this initiative here in like the Northeast where it's basically women who are kind of going out, essentially like kind of basically street watch. So they're like going to like the busy parts of town on nights out, or they're kind of around like the metro stations and stuff at the last metro for like making sure that women feel safe coming home. And so they'll just kind of they've got like different kind of people kind of patrolling, I guess, as it were. I can't think of a better word, but just making sure that like if there's any women by themselves, they're not kind of, you know, in a vulnerable position, or like anyone who's in trouble, like they're there to kind of support them. You know, if someone's had a bad experience, they can like be there for them, or they can make sure they get home safe, or like, you know, contact friends, like they help them find their friends if they've got lost, that sort of thing. And that's like done really well, and it's all kind of like volunteers and stuff.
That's,
So that's
such
really
a good
cool.
idea. That's
Yeah.
really good.
So there's a lot of positive steps happening, like all these initiatives and kind of festivals acknowledging it. Like that's amazing. That's kind of, I guess, what we can hope. Well, I mean, what we can hope for is that they're just not needed at all. But you know, at least there are kind of people are noticing it, and it's kind of gone from what you said, Katie, that you just felt like, oh, this is just part and parcel of maybe going out, or you know, which it isn't at all, and it shouldn't be. So it's good that while we're kind of getting to the point where, you know, hopefully these things won't be happening, in the meantime, there are ways to help feel more safe and protect each other, which is, you know.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think we are at a point where things are moving and quickly, and a lot more communities are being created. There's a lot more different ways to connect with other women, share experiences, and support each other. I mean, another one of the and I've spoken about this in my podcast so many times. Another one of the great groups of communities that I've really enjoyed over the last few months is the She Is the Music WhatsApp group, where I think there's like over 400 women from the music industry all over the world in this WhatsApp group, and it is such a nice community of women that all work in different jobs, support each other, and bring up like really interesting and really important topics and conversations. And I mean, I don't even really know how long that WhatsApp group has been going, but I don't think it's been going for that long. But the amount of people that I've met inside that WhatsApp group as well, and they've connected me with other people. And, you know, there's also, you know, job roles or job positions that people are looking for, and everybody shares everything. And I just think, I don't know, there's so many of these different now initiatives and groups and communities where women are coming together. And I think it's like it's a really important time, and I think we're definitely heading in the right direction. But as you said before, obviously there's still so much more to do. It's because it's like, when going back to what we were saying before, it's not like you would have a WhatsApp group like men, here's the music, you know, like men in music, like that wouldn't even exist, you know. So but I mean, we obviously we're at a point where we have to do these things, and it's nice that we've got the opportunity and the technology to be able to do these things.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
So positive changes are coming, I think. It's a positive time. So obviously still so much more to do, but
we've kind of definitely moved more towards like community rather than competition, which is amazing, and it just shows how many more people win. Like what you're saying, that WhatsApp group, people sharing roles, recommending people. When we all come together, it's helping, like really helping actually kind of further people's careers, and you know, and artists as well. So
yeah. And also with saying that, I'm not just saying that it's just, you know, women coming together. There's also a lot of men, the majority of men that I know and work with, and I'm sure both of you would probably agree with me, that are so supportive, you know, and play a huge role in this as well. So it's not just all about just women. Obviously there's a lot of men that are really helping us move forward as well. So yeah, that's a good time. I'm going to let you both go because I know we said an hour. And Roberta, what time is it for you?
It's 5. It's not too bad.
Oh, I wish it was 5 here. It would be wine o'clock for me. I'll give it a few more hours.
I think you can have wine. It's like 2 p.m.
Do you think?
Yeah.
I just having one of those days today, like, oh, you know, when you just like, I just need to. I was just really looking forward to talking to you two, but I don't know. So I woke up in a funny mood today, and I thought
Sometimes
I'm gonna have
to drink wine in the afternoon.
Do you?
No, I'm saying sometimes you just need to.
I know. I actually don't normally drink wine in the afternoon, but this morning I was like, I really feel like just finishing my day early today and then just have like a glass of wine on the sofa.
Oh, I wish we were all there together. I'd go for winter wine in Ibiza.
Yes, please.
Or Dubai or Newcastle, anywhere would be lovely.
Yeah, anywhere.
When will we all be together again?
When someone gets us on a conference lineup together again.
Oh yeah, that's it. Anybody wants You know,
We need to
anybody's
do
working on a conference, you need some
Putting it out there, guys. Yeah,
speakers.
so someone needs to book us.
Yeah.
We should actually do our own, but we need to find like an investor so that we don't have to like. I
We'll
don't
put
know.
that out there as well. Anyone
Yeah.
who wants to book us for a
Anyone
conference or
who-
invest-
Anybody, so if anybody wants to book us for
Yeah,
their
well.
festival or their conference to speak,
Yeah.
or if there are any investors out there that would like to invest in our new music conference, then hit us up.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we're waiting.
Waiting. Oh, it's so lovely to chat with you both. You inspire me so much. I'm so grateful to have you both in my lives. You're just amazing women, and I love you both very much.
I feel exactly the same.
Yeah.
I really
Love
mean that.
you.
You are actually both two of my favorite people on this planet, and I'm not just saying that because you're both here, but it's true.
You say that to all your guests.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, baby.
Is that just a podcast sign off?
That's how the podcast normally ends. You're one of my favorite people.
Favorite person
Favorite
on the
people to
planet.
ever talk to.
Excellent.
You're my favorite person to interview. No, that was from the heart, Roberta.
I felt it.
Good.
Me too. The best.
From
Love you.
Ibiza with love. Love you.
Love you guys.
Bye.